We end our evening with darts at 11:30, and now this.
Over there, it's flashbulbs.
Growing up in the 80s wasn't all Rubik's Cube, synth pop and colourful leggings. For a start, it had inherited a lot of browns from the 1970s, but it also inherited the burgeoning technology of the home microcomputer. Television programmes featuring balding middle-aged men in offensive jumpers espousing the latest exciting home tech could be found during prime time. One such balding middle-aged man of the time was my father, who, around 1982, was to introduce me to the BBC Micro. This Model B was to be my main computer and gaming platform for the next 10 years. So many happy hours were spent on this machine, only to be rivaled by the hours of frustration, indicative of the difficulty that was standard in games at the time. As a result of that difficulty, it was rare to see the end of a game back then. Keep that in mind. There are numerous top 10 lists of games for the BBC Micro scattered throughout the internet featuring some absolute classics. Elite, Repton, Chucky Egg, and Imogen, to name a few. I'm not here to argue that these lists are wrong, but they are for me. If the number of hours sunk into a game can be considered a measure of how good it is, and I'd suggest it's a pretty good personal metric, then there has to be a place in my own top 10 for Elixir. Elixir, like many other games in those top 10 lists, was released by Superior Software, a factory for quality since 1982. Published in time for Christmas of 1987 on cassette and floppy disk for both the BBC Micro and the Acorn Electron, Elixir is a quirky puzzle platformer in which you play the part of a shrunken chemist seeking the titular elixir to return him to his normal size. Think Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but with more fatal falls. The game received a lukewarm reception from the critics after release, not even reviewed until February 1988 and being compared unfavourably to other titles released at the time. One reviewer said,
"It does not have the instant appeal of Superior's other recent releases, Spellbinder and Bone Cruncher, so you'd be well advised to try it out first."
And thus an example of the ivory tower in which game reviewers live. How were we supposed to try it out first? Write to Superior and ask for a lend? By Christmas of that year, Elixir had already been bundled into a compilation package with 4 other titles, and in February of 1989 a review of that compilation highlights Elixir as a
tedious adventure,
again comparing it unfavourably to the other games in the bundle. It didn't help that Imogen, a puzzle platformer that's already been mentioned as a perennial favourite, was included, but even so, saying,
Imogen was, and still is, in a class of its own in the arcade adventure field. Elixir is an arcade adventure game from the opposite end of the quality spectrum.
Is unfair. And it was especially harsh for Carol Barrow, the reviewer at the time, to claim that,
considering the quality of the other programmes in the package, I would be very surprised if this one is played at all.
Who hurt you, Carol? Who hurt you? Elixir was one of my go-to games as a child. I loved it. Not because I was particularly good at it, but because it was a world that I wanted to explore. I wanted to see what was on the next screen. I wanted to see if I could solve just one more puzzle or reveal just one more area. It was a challenge, but that made all the hard-fought-for discoveries all the better. I never completed Elixir, and in the 90s I moved on from the BBC Micro. There was always a part of me that regretted that I never managed to return Cyril, the hapless chemist, to his former stature. It's been more than 35 years, Jesus Christ. But to quote the great George Eliot, "It's never too late to be what you might have been-us." And I might have been-us a guy that completed Elixir. So I did. And here I present to you my full playthrough, with commentary, of Elixir on the BBC Micro. Enjoy. Okay, so this is how it starts on this screen. and we're just gonna nip across and get this thread. The aim of the game, you'll see me just wandering around, the aim of the game is to get all of these red pills that you can see. There's one on every screen. I'll tell you what these things shooting across the screen are in a minute. Every screen has a red pill, each of the 40 screens, and once you've gathered all of the pills, the elixir will spawn. But there are also puzzles and things that need to be solved in order to get more of the red pills. So the first thing I did was actually grab some thread, and that thread I'm going to use to climb down. Oh, that was a pin I just collected, which I'll use for later. But I'm going to use the thread right here. There we go, so I can climb down here. And what's down here is a green magic bean. There we go, just grab that. And you have to plant that in a pot of agar. And then it'll take some time to grow, and it takes so long to grow you can pretty much get everything else done. If you plant that bean as soon as possible, you can get everything else done in the game pretty much in time for it to have grown to the height you need it to. So the whole point of this route is getting that bean and planting it as soon as possible. Now you may notice there are other coloured pills around the place, not just red ones. There's a blue one there I jumped over. That dark blue one will make you move uncontrollably fast, so it's best to avoid them. Others can like kill you instantly or make you fall off a platform. These things that are firing across, they can kill me. Oh, I've just got a green pill antidote, I'll talk about that later. But those things are flashbulbs. Alec from Technology Connections did a recent video about old flashbulbs and how explosive they are. I would watch that, it's good fun. Anyway, the pin has just been used to burst that balloon, and then I come down here and I grab a magnet. I'll be using that later. Again, if you see me avoiding a pill, like that red pill there, I can't get it because of the Bunsen burner flame, so I need to turn the Bunsen burner flame off. But again, I'm not doing that yet. This is all about getting to where I can plant the bean. There is a spirit stopper that I've just grabbed there, which I need in order to get to the agar. I'll explain further. There is this oil. It's actually one of the few things that is animated and doesn't kill you. It's necessary. It gives you a covering of oil, which you need to squeeze through a keyhole at some point. It'll be detrimental later on, but at the moment it's absolutely necessary. This is the spirit bottle. So there we go. I've just stoppered that up, because if I didn't, a ghost comes out of it, and it would stop me coming across the top here. And I need to get across the top because the agar is on this screen. Now if you walk over it, there's the bean planted. We'll avoid that acid, we can't deal with it yet, it will kill us. In the meantime, you see the plants just started to sprout. But now that we've planted that bean, we can go around and do a whole bunch of other things, and it's mainly just gathering up the red pills. So the routes that you can do, there are a number of different routes that work here, but this is the one that gives you early bean, essentially. It's what I call the early bean route, because there are routes that mean you don't need to gather that thread. Oh, these are iron pills, these things bouncing around, they will kill you if they hit you. It's what the magnet is for. The magnet, so I've just got an acid-proof plaster there. The magnet only works if you come up from below. It doesn't work. I don't think you're supposed to come down from the top. I think that's a bit of a cheat for me. But if you come up from below, the magnet will then stop the iron pills bouncing about, and it means you can make it all the way over here and grab this red pill here. Now, I keep going in this direction because there are more red pills to get. An interesting fact is that these ropes and strings that I'm climbing down, some of them, there are some invisible ones about the place, you'll see that. I did just grab a green pill there, I have the antidote to green pills, which is good so they don't affect me, because if I didn't have that, if I grabbed a green pill, it would instantly make me fall off the shelf I'm on, which is almost certainly just death, because you'll fall to your death. So I don't have to worry about green pills. Every other pill can have an effect. So like the yellow pills are instant death, the dark blue pills speed you up, cyan pills really slow you down, and the magenta pills, they make your movement a little iffy. Anyway, this is a scary bit because those lipsticks just fire off at random and can kill you. I don't know why lipsticks are so explosive in this guy's chemist. I can understand flashbulbs, that makes a bit more sense, but the lipsticks are a little confusing. Oh, there was an invisible string. Yeah, they're just kind of dotted about the place, and if you know where they are, they can be very handy. I use one later on as well. But in the meantime, we're going up here, and we're going to turn off that Bunsen burner, because we need the pill that's beyond it, and we're at the point where we should probably get it. So we just hit this little handle to turn off the Bunsen burner. Whilst we're here, we'll grab this red pill there, and then we can go around and just get the red pill that the Bunsen burner flame was stopping us from grabbing earlier. I mean, there are a number of things that can kill you here. There are the flashbulbs, the lipsticks, the acid that we've seen. If you don't have the acid-proof plaster, that'll kill you. The Bunsen burner fire, the iron pills, falls, of course. If you fall too far, the game is brutal. If you fall too far, you start falling, which means you ignore every shelf in between you and the very bottom of the map. So you will fall all the way down to the bottom of the map and respawn all the way down there. So if you've spent a long time getting up, then it's a bit unpleasant to then lose all of that progress. I'm just going along here cleaning up more red pills. There's a green pill there, which I can safely ignore because it won't affect me. There's also an eye shield here, which I've just grabbed. I have no idea what it's for. If there's like a laser or something in the game, it would make sense, but I don't really know what it's for. I only grab it because it happens to be on the route, and it would be more difficult to avoid it. But yeah, I have no idea what it's for. So we're going to loop round here again. This is a bit of an intersection in the game, that oil screen. But now whilst we're going up, because we don't have to go up... Oh, this shows you what the dark blue pills do, and this is fairly uncontrollable. The effect of a pill, if it doesn't kill you, will go away if you go vertically off a screen. So if you go off the screen above or below, the effect of the pill stops. Now this is just to show you that it's sort of... The magenta pills just make your movement very erratic. But then you go off the bottom of the screen, you're back to normal, it's fine. So, now we have the acid-proof plaster, we can go through where the acid is dripping. As you can see, the beanstalk is growing nicely. It's not at the height we need it, although it has grown all the way up that screen. It is growing up the next one as well, and we need it to get a bit higher. If I didn't have the acid-proof plaster, walking through all this acid would kill me, and you do need to. So now I'm back on the first screen, but I've gathered the things that I need. So there's another one of those invisible ropes that just happens to be there, and it's very handy for grabbing that red pill. So now we're on the screen with the vanishing cream. If you're walking across the vanishing cream and it vanishes, you fall. You're dead. It will kill you. So you have to time it very well. I feel like it's fully random and it doesn't even know whether you're on it. But if you time it right, it's usually good. Another invisible string there that I climb up. And now I'm in the dark room. That thing that's coming for me is the Circulosaurus. It's instant death if it hits you, and you've got to do a fair bit of parkour to avoid it. It will come on this screen as well, just behind me, and oh, it's close. It's very close. But we managed to avoid it, and we're here in the dark room, not for any objects, but just for the red pills that are held here. There are 2 red pills on these 2 screens, and as long as you can avoid being killed by the Circulosaur, you should be fine. I don't know why there is a Circulosaur hanging around in this guy's dark room. It feels dangerous. Even full-sized, you could lose a finger. But as you can see, because it bounces back and forth, you've got to be very careful. You've got to jump precisely. Ah, right, that's it. We're done. We're out of the dark room. And because we exit from up there, it's a good time to just grab that red pill. So now we're going to come through the acid again, and this is the last time we go through the acid, so we aren't going to need the acid-proof plaster, which is fortunate because we're going to use it again. There is a bottle of a container of water, like a beaker of water, that is leaking from the bottom, and there's a platform floating on the top of the water, so if that water goes down too far, you can't use the platform. So what I'm going to do is use the acid-proof plaster to bung up the hole. The downside with that is we no longer have the acid-proof plaster, so here we go. There we are. So this means now I can get killed by the acid again. It's fine, we don't need to go that way anymore. So whilst we're here, we're going to gather all of the red pills here. I grab this magenta pill, it doesn't matter because I'm instantly off the bottom of the screen, so its effect is taken away straight away. So just those couple of red pills, and then we have to get back up again, because what we need to do next is to climb that beanstalk and do everything up there. Because that's where the elixir spawns when you have gathered the last of the red pills. So, good idea to be up there when that happens. So again, I appear at this the intersection where the oil is, and that covering of oil was really useful to squeeze through the keyhole into the dark room. It's no longer really useful. It's a hindrance. There's a sloped bottle that we can't climb if our shoes are covered in oil. So what we need to do is wash that off. And there is a way of doing that once we've climbed the beanstalk. So here we go, it's grown this far, which is not as far as we want it to grow. That was almost a death. That was almost a death. But it's not grown high enough to get that red pill on the very top shelf there. So we'll come back and we'll do that in a little while. So there's that red pill there, at which point we have to jump across. Now, there are flashbulbs in this room, and if you want to get around them, then all you have to do is jump, because the rhythm that the game allows you to jump is perfect for avoiding that flashbulb there. Now there's one of those cyan pills which slows you down. You'll see the effect of them shortly because I will blunder into one, but it slows you down massively. So this is now using that platform where the acid-proof plaster helped. And here is a container of soap, and we can lower ourselves down just enough to get our shoes into the soap. There we go, and clean off the oil. Now I'm going to hit this cyan pill accidentally, and you can see how much it slows us down. It's so slow. But we are going to go off the bottom of the screen just here, and that'll take that effect away. So, back to normal. So we've got a... So yeah, we've got rid of the covering of oil, which now means we can go and gather what is the penultimate red pill, thanks to the beanstalk having grown fully now. So yeah, that's it at its full height, and you can jump from the top onto that shelf. There we go. And this is me figuring out, do I jump or do I fall? And it's a case of you walk off it, otherwise you will die due to the extra height getting you into the fall range. So we've got one more pill to get, which is over here. You've got to jump this big gap. And then that sloped cyan bottle there that I'm just climbing now, that is the one that I wouldn't be able to climb if I still had a covering of oil. And there's the last red pill right at the top, and on the shelf next to it, that's where the elixir will spawn. So we now have to do this last little bit of platforming to get up here, grab the pill, and there it is. And Cyril has been returned to full size. And there's a number there as well, 24001650. That's because Superior Software, they did a lot of competitions whenever a game was released. If you completed it, you could write in and enter a competition, a prize draw, and they had a lot of good prizes. And apparently they were all claimed back in the day. So there were a bunch of people who managed to complete this game back then, when I couldn't. But now I like to think I stand among their ranks. It might have taken a while, but here I am. So there we go, that's Elixir for the BBC Micro. Fantastic game. You should give it a go if you can. There's a website, it's bbcmicro.co.uk. It has almost every BBC Micro game that was released on it and available to play on an emulator in the browser. It's absolutely fantastic. So you can go from here and go straight and have a go at Elixir yourself, and you can see how difficult it is, but also how much fun it is to solve everything. So there you go. Thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will catch you later.
Time for us on BBC Two to switch out the lights and head home very shortly. But first of all, let me remind you that our colleagues in Broadcasting House would like to apologise to you especially, and hope that tomorrow everything will be okay. So from BBC Two, good night.